Stay tuned for the Splash Live. It's time for the Splash Live from Civic Center TV, featuring stories from and about people like you in the Greater West Bloomfield area. Simulcast on cable, 89.3 Lakes FM, social media, and the web. Now live from Green Media Center on Walnut Lake Road, it's the Splash Live.
Live, local, social, it's the Splash Live on Civic Center TV and 89.3 Lakes FM. I'm your host, Tyler Kieft. Thank you so much for being with us today as we celebrate and recognize all the great things that are happening across the Greater West Bloomfield area. It's very unique to have a large historical connection to one of the most important times in American history. You may not have known that right here close to home in Greater West Bloomfield, the Underground Railroad was largely supported by our community here in Greater West Bloomfield and its surrounding neighbors. That's now being celebrated at the West Bloomfield Township Public Library. Our reporter Jake Schaff is live on site with more insight into that. Jake.
Hey, Tyler, good morning. Yes, I am live right outside of the West Bloomfield Township Public Library where, as you said, if people take a walk inside, they will be educated on the importance of the Underground Railroad to the West Bloomfield community. There are 6 exhibit panels inside, courtesy of the Greater West Bloomfield Historical Society, and this is all a part of the Oakland County Underground Railroad Project, which is a multi-community public history project dedicated to research and providing access to evidence-based local Underground Railroad history. Take a look inside. You will learn all about the sorts of connections the Underground Railroad has had to cities like West Bloomfield, as well as cities neighboring by like Royal Oak and Troy, and all throughout the Greater West Bloomfield area and beyond. And already tons of local residents have been stopping by to educate themselves and to be learning about this very important part of history, as this one local West Bloomfield resident had to say regarding the things that she's learned from this exhibit.
People don't think about the Underground Railroad. They don't, and having anything to do with this area, and it's just it's so important. It's a part of our history, and it's a part of our local history. So I think it's great. I think it's really important. As human beings, we need to know about the world around us. We need to look at people and in a positive way and know everybody's history. I think it makes us a more tolerant society when we know all about everybody else.
Debbie is certainly right. It's always important to learn about this side of history, especially when you don't realize it's right here in our community. This has been a very insightful exhibit for the West Bloomfield residents, as well as for the library itself, as I also spoke with Victoria Edwards from the West Bloomfield Library to hear her thoughts of showcasing this side of history to the people of West Bloomfield.
I think it's really exciting to have something about the Underground Railroad that's specific to Oakland County. We've had some patrons that are really interested in learning more about that side of things, and oftentimes we hear more about the Detroit side. So it's nice to get a little bit more north and learn a little bit more about a history of our community here. Our local history, I think, is really important for building that personal connection and the sense of our relationship with history as on a more individual level, on a more community level. So I always appreciate the opportunities like that local history groups provide.
Now, these 6 exhibit panels are right inside the library. You literally just walk through the door, you turn around, and they're right there. And don't worry, you're still going to have plenty of chances to learn about this history at the West Bloomfield Library. These exhibit panels will be on display until the end of March, and by then, the panels will then move to West Bloomfield Town Hall, where they will be on display for the month of April. So plenty of chances to educate yourself and to learn about this important chapter of history that took place right here in the Greater West Bloomfield community. Jake Schaff, back to you, Tyler.
Appreciate it, Jake. And there's a special presentation coming up as well with the Greater West Bloomfield Historical Society. It'll be at that same location, the West Bloomfield Township Public Library, a week from Wednesday, March 26th at 7 p.m. in the main meeting room. If you can't come out and see it, you'll be able to see coverage right here on Civic Center TV and listen on 89.3 Lakes FM for even more continuing coverage. Something we've been doing for a while here at Civic Center TV, covering those key moments in history and how they've affected our neighborhoods here in Greater West Bloomfield. Years ago, our team put together a mini documentary about the community's local historical connection to the Underground Railroad called Underground Railroad, the Michigan Connection. Not only making the connections to the historical Underground Railroad across the U.S. as enslaved people made their way to freedom, but how it impacted our community and nearby communities as well. Here's that video.
I'm Gina Gregory, President of the Greater West Bloomfield Historical Society. We're here today at the main library with a presentation on the Underground Railroad, the Michigan Connection, with Willie Payne giving the presentation.
The Underground Railroad Michigan Connection chronicles the life of the Southern slaves in their quest for freedom, and it talks about the people in Michigan, especially Wayne and Oakland counties, that were instrumental in harboring the slaves until they could make it to freedom via the Underground Railroad. Freedom, of course, was Canada. There were several houses in Bloomfield, Orchard Lake, and surrounding communities. Pontiac Trail was the main connector. This particular area, the West Bloomfield, Farmington area, played an intricate part. Farmington was the principal junction of the Underground Railroad movement in the 1830s. A lot of folk don't know that. They're surprised of that. So this lecture, this gives me the opportunity to share that information with the community, and they are excited and happy to know that members of their community played a vital role in helping slaves escape captivity.
Oh, the Underground Railroad was so important for slaves trying to escape. To learn that Michigan was an integral part of that isn't surprising, since Detroit is next door to Canada. To know that the Farmington, West Bloomfield, Michigan area was involved is quite interesting. And anyone who lives in this area, or anyone can enjoy knowing that. To connect with it and knowing that it happened locally here helps found people, and it gives them an understanding of their community that we all live in.
The route actually started in Cassopolis, Michigan, and it came through Schoolcraft, Battle Creek, Marshall, went across to Port Huron, where the slaves would be ushered across the St. Clair River. That was a landmark case that happened in Marshall, Michigan, including a fugitive slave from Kentucky that caused the route to detour and come down through Oakland County. Farmington was the principal junction of the Underground Railroad movement during the 1830s. Farmington had at least 6 stations. The leaders of the movement, like Sojourner Truth and others, spoke at various times in Farmington. So Farmington played a very important role in helping the fugitive slaves escape to Canada, where they got their citizenship. Many of those who used the Underground Railroad came through Farmington. After the emancipation, eventually returned to Farmington and made Farmington their home because of the kind treatment they got from the abolitionists here in this area that assisted them. Philbrook Tavern at 11 Mile and Powers Road was used as a station. It was operated by Nathan Philbrook. That was, at that time, a hotel, one of the finer hotels in Oakland County, and was also used as a meeting spot for politicians and would-be politicians. There's a house at Orchard Lake and Pontiac Trail, the old Francis Emmendorfer house, or the Milricus home. That house was also stationed. Now, these places that I talk about now are businesses or private residences, and stories that have been handed down through generations to substantiate the fact that they were stations still live today. And people are excited about knowing that these buildings and these homes or the people in their community were instrumental in helping the slaves become productive citizens.
Civic Center TV production. So much great work went into that from members of our team years ago, telling the stories of the Underground Railroad and their connections directly to West Bloomfield and our nearby communities like Pontiac and, of course, Farmington, as was said by Mr. Payne in that video, playing such a key role. You can see that in its entirety if you're just tuning in or listening on 89.3 Lakes FM on our website on civiccentertv.com, and plenty more information coming very soon about the Underground Railroad's connections right here in Greater West Bloomfield. The Greater West Bloomfield Historical Society is working hard to improve the community's knowledge of our historical significance in the United States of America and world history as well through the Underground Railroad. They will have a special presentation. Mary Parker, William Taylor, and other freedom seekers researching the Underground Railroad in Oakland County. That will be happening Wednesday, March 26th at 7 p.m. in the main meeting room at the West Bloomfield Township Public Library. Here for more on that special presentation from the Historical Society is their president, Gina Gregory. Gina, thank you so much for being with us today. Appreciate you coming on to preview this special event and take a look at our really interesting history here in West Bloomfield.
Good morning, Good morning, Tyler. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic and hope you are well as we get ready for this about a week from the time that we are recording this and having this first live with us on the air is when this presentation is going to happen. It takes a different perspective. We showed a video recently, and we've been airing this video for a long time on Civic Center TV about the Michigan connection to the Underground Railroad, featuring in Farmington and in West Bloomfield. But we're kind of taking this upcoming presentation at the library county-wide. Tell us a little bit about the experts that will be presenting this and what the story they'll be telling this time about our local connection to the Underground Railroad.
Well, this presentation, I think, was developed as a part of this program, and researchers have been very active looking for our West Bloomfield history. I always recall probably during COVID or so, West Bloomfield Parks asked me who were the significant Black people early in West Bloomfield, and I had no knowledge at that time. So since then, we've been researching, and we're fortunate to have a volunteer researcher who is very able to look online and know how to use archives and find more and more. And I got an email from him yesterday, literally saying, in summation, the more you look at, the more you find. So this project, led by Leslie Pilek at the Birmingham Museum, has now found more evidence of about 1903 about Ellis Mason from his obituary. And he was an enslaved person who came to West Bloomfield to live the rest of his life. And the obituary shows that he lived on land a half mile from Walnut Lake Road. And when our researchers learned that, they were able to, Sue Williams was able to look through our reference material, our archives, our collection, and find 1980 testimony from a donation that we had received. And it references the Cooney farm as well as the adjacent people that Ellis interacted with. And then the stories were also passed down from grandmas and aunts and uncles. So all these things together piece together more of the story of what was happening here in West Bloomfield. So very exciting. Carol probably has that information, and we'll be rolling it into her presentation about all of Oakland County as I see it. So she will tweak her presentation to us. So we're looking forward to that and having people attend live. And I also understand the Civic Center TV will be recording that. So that'll be an awesome way to hear the latest in a presentation format.
Yeah, we certainly encourage people to come out to the library on Wednesday, March 26th, 7 p.m. for this presentation. Really fascinating stuff because we're taking a look at this from a county perspective. This particular expert is an Oakland County Parks historian, but we'll also, as you said, Gina, be kind of taking this through the lens of our community proper and its direct connections to the Underground Railroad. But what we were saying about Sue Williams and others and their research sort of piecing all of this together over recent years really goes to the crux of what the Historical Society and its volunteers do every single day. Just take us through a little bit of the legwork that people that are essentially our local historians are putting forth to tell these important stories of our history in Greater West Bloomfield.
Absolutely. And it's through sharing that happens. If they were each their own little silos, not sharing, they wouldn't get very far. So the communication between people and the interest and the ability to respond in a timely way just really keeps the enthusiasm and the interest rolling and the possibility to move forward. It's all, can be a long time process. And we're just fortunate to have people right here in West Bloomfield who are committed to that.
And there's competing theories that history is a revolving door, that history, it doesn't repeat itself, but it kind of mirrors itself throughout the generations. And so as we look back on the Underground Railroad's connection to our community, it helped people get to freedom. It helped people from diverse communities in comparison to the large population demographics of our community at that time in history get to freedom. And now today we look at our community as being this big melting pot, a number of different cultures, ethnic backgrounds, socioeconomic backgrounds. How do you think that those connections historically maybe led us to being such a diverse and ultimately welcoming community that we are today?
Well, I would look at it from the lens that we've had a story that you only can talk about what you know. So we've picked up things over the years and it seems to paint a story. Yet the more you look, the more you find. And then you have to take that and incorporate it into your story and you get a fuller story. And so we benefit from that. The people who were involved with the Underground Railroad, it seems that there were many of them in West Bloomfield. It literally seems that the homeowners in the area of Orchard Lake Road and Walnut Lake Road were involved, as well as by Pontiac Trail and Orchard Lake Road, and probably to the west of that, were all involved. So it's just interesting to see that was there. And probably we didn't know that so much before. So we pieced together a fuller story. And that then gives us the opportunity to share that information, and it has a wide impact. Over time, we hope to update what we have at the museum to show that. In the meantime, we have opportunities here with speakers and presentations. Neil just shared what he's put together so far at our February open house. And then he'll also be, I hope, at the Juneteenth event through West Bloomfield Parks, which I understand has grown and grown. So we hope to participate this year. We're actually just getting into the planning of that at the moment.
And with these special events like this presentation coming up on Wednesday, March 26th, 7 p.m. at the library, but also the display that's currently at the main library and will eventually, after this presentation at the end of March, be moving over to West Bloomfield Town Hall. It seems like the Historical Society is making a push to get some of these stories from our really interesting local history into the community even more. Why is that becoming more of a concerted effort and a direct, very visible effort from our Historical Society as you move forward?
Only because it's there. When Leslie Pilot began this program, they had a presentation with the 4 panels originally, and I was trying to think of when that was. And it was in 2022, I believe, fall or spring, one of the others, held in Southfield, and there were a packed room full of people that were very interested. I attended the event with my husband, and we were very impressed by these panels, learned that they were in the community, and I tried to sign up for us to have them right away. That wasn't possible in that year, which I think was 2023. They were in other places in the community in 2024. So our turn popped up this time of year. And so they're in each community usually for 2 months is how they like to do it. So they'll keep exhibiting those panels. Since then, they received a grant and they had more information, so they were able to reproduce them. And now that there's 6 panels, so it has a little bit more information about West Bloomfield. We locally have more information than that as well. So you can only put so much on a panel, but it's pretty neat to see all the things that were going on in Oakland County.
And you can see
They
it
also
not
say
only-
there's a website to respond to, and has more information there. So there's a wealth of information, or there's getting to be more and more information available. It's really about people's interests.
It is, and you're seeing on your screen on civiccentertv.com if you're watching this, or if you go back and see it on demand. A look at some of those 6 panels. They're at the main library as we speak. They'll be there through the end of the month of March, and then they'll move over briefly to West Bloomfield Town Hall. So really a great opportunity to learn about our direct connection to the historical Underground Railroad that helped enslaved people go north from the enslaved South and into freedom, both here in the U.S. and especially through our local community, eventually making their way into Canada. Gina Gregory is with us on the Splash Live. She's the president of the Greater West Bloomfield Historical Society, who is putting on a special presentation themselves at the West Bloomfield Library Wednesday, March 26th at 7 p.m. And Gina, this kind of goes back to the overall story of the Historical Society, which is volunteers in our community, our neighbors, our friends, our colleagues, collecting our history and telling our story over the course of years. And when we learn about history in class, we learn about those broad subjects, the Underground Railroad at the historical level for the entire U.S. and world history. But why does learning about your local history matter?
I think it connects you directly to where you are. And I just want to include that these panels will be at West Bloomfield Town Hall all of April, so the whole month that they'll be there during their regular business hours. So anybody, there's a public space, anybody can come in and look at them. I encourage folks to do that. The question was, why does local history matter? I mean, you're almost literally talking about the ground that you live on, or very close to. It's all so close. And I think that's just such a personal way to reflect and incorporate that history into your own life, to give you a sense of space and place and connection to your community. It's also something neighbors can share together. I live in a neighborhood that was developed in 1922, and people love to talk about their time living here and what things were like in the old days, so as well as currently. So it's a way to build community. I think it's one of the best ways to build community because everybody literally shares living here. So to me, that's the best thing, the best value that local history gives everybody.
And what's even better is that with the modern technology that we have, how interwoven all of our lives are day to day in Greater West Bloomfield and our neighboring communities, we're able to collect that history in a much more efficient way and tell those stories through the years. That's part of what the Historical Society is doing right now through its ongoing Collecting Memories effort. Give us a little insight on that and how people can participate in the collection of our local history.
Sure. So it really boils down to, it adds to the value of life of living here. You can learn so much about where you are, and I think that makes for a fuller experience. So we're located We're very fortunate that the city of Orchard Lake Village, when they built their new building in 1987, they had the foresight to keep the building. At that time, the Historical Society had no permanent home, and they offered it to us to use as a space. And we've been so blessed to have that space, and we've used it well over the years. Our whole first floor is involved with, there's one small office space and the rest is all exhibit space, and then our collection is in the basement. So we're so appreciative of that. And to support our efforts, I hope that people come in and take a look. We're always have an open house the second Sunday of every month from 1 to 4, as well as one other time, so they can check at our website, gwbhs.org, to see what our current schedule is. They can become a member. You can do that very inexpensively. You can receive our newsletter, as well as our awesome social media that shares our local history right there close to home on your social media outlets. You can also become a sponsor of Apple Island tours coming up. You can be a sponsor of an exhibit. You can be a sponsor of our website, and you can also give a planned giving donation. We would love to have more of those. There's many opportunities to connect with our community and show your appreciation, because none of this is free. Volunteers are having more going on in their lives and less time to devote to history. So how do we keep that alive? And I always say, who's going to be the next president after myself? What's going to happen? What do we want as a community? And who can support us? We're very special because we're a 501c3 nonprofit organization, and we do not fall under the purview of anybody to support us. So it's an interesting place to be. How can we keep history alive? Where can we store our collection? How can we share it? What works for this community? And I would hope that somebody takes up the task of planning that well to the future. Our board struggles with that all the time. How do we keep moving forward? And our answer is we just keep moving forward in the present. It'll always be up to the people at the moment to decide how this moves forward, as far as I can see. We've thought about it, but that's as far as we can take it. If anybody's willing to lend some thoughts to that or some resources, we would love to consider more.
And there's plenty of ways to get involved, as Gina just mentioned, and to get involved in learning about your historical connections to the community, how your neighborhood maybe has played a role in our local history, in our state's history, and in American history as well. Gina, thank you so much for your time. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
gwbhs.org is the place to go for even more information, including links to their social media, so you can follow them for more historical updates and information on special events like those Apple Island tours that will be back this summer and are always very fun and very popular. In the meantime, stick with us. Wednesday, March 26th, 7 p.m. in the main library meeting room will be a presentation on Oakland County's connections to the Underground Railroad, including specifically here in Greater West Bloomfield, and we'll have that on demand for you, plus additional coverage on civiccentertv.com in the days after. Very exciting stuff as we look back at a very important time in American history and a very important role played right here in our local community. We'll take a break on the Splash Live. Plenty more coming up. Exciting basketball games this week that could have more historical connotations for our community as well. Live, local, social. It's the Splash Live on Civic Center TV and 89.3 Lakes FM.
We'll be right back with the Splash Live.
Hi, I'm Chris Fry, Park Superintendent of West Bloomfield Parks. Congratulations, Civic Center TV, on 1 million views on YouTube. Thank you for all you do in the community, and thank you for having me on The Splash throughout the season to talk about activities out in the parks. Chris Fry, proud to be 1 in a million.
Last week, Brandon met a girl on a dating app. One day after work, he finally found the courage to ask her out. No answer. He started to panic. Was he being too pushy? Maybe it was too...
Hey, sorry I didn't respond. I was driving. I would love to go on a date. How does tonight sound?
Brandon tried to play it cool, but inside he knew a girl so smart, so responsible, she must be a keeper.
Want to enjoy Civic Center TV on your social media? Find us on Instagram at Civic Center TV. Get notified when we upload one of our interviews, full episodes, and more. Thank you for watching and listening to Civic Center TV and 89.3 Lakes FM.
Good nutrition can help make sure you have enough iron, calcium, and vitamin C in your body, which can make it harder for lead to enter your bloodstream. Help protect your family from the harmful effects of lead.
And now, back to The Splash, live.
Live, local, social, it's The Splash live on Civic Center TV and 89.3 Lakes FM. I'm Tyler Kieft. Thank you so much for joining us and our entire team as we dive into the latest stories making an impact across the Greater West Bloomfield area. Well, it is March. It is bracket season. It is basketball tournament season. And man, are we feeling that right here close to home in our community with the fantastic run of Orchard Lake St. Mary's boys basketball, making it all the way back to the Breslin in defense of their 2024 championship, unfortunately ending with a loss to the eventual Division I champions in East Lansing High School in the semifinal. All that coverage is on our website, but we still have plenty more to root for. In girls basketball, the defending champion West Bloomfield Lakers continue their historic run, looking to go back-to-back as Division I champions tonight at the University of Detroit Mercy. They'll be playing a 7:30 p.m. tip-off at Callahan Hall against the number 12 ranked 24-2 overall Utica Ford Falcons. This is following their 47-42 victory in the regional final last week against the Clarkston Wolves, and could set off an historic moment in basketball in Greater West Bloomfield. A win tonight in the quarterfinals would mean West Bloomfield would have their fourth consecutive appearance at state finals weekend at Michigan State, which they've gone to three consecutive finals and played in all four, of course, of those semifinals, winning 2 championships along the way in 2022 and 2024. Civic Center TV's Jake Schaff had a chance recently to speak to head coach Darren McAllister about continuing this historic run and what makes this 2025 team so special and poised to possibly win another one.
And here to tell us more and to share his thoughts on this season so far, we have the coach of the West Bloomfield Girls Lakers basketball team, Darren McAllister, joining us right now on The Splash. Darren, good morning.
Good morning, Jake. How are you?
I'm really good. First and foremost, congratulations on the team and for all of their success. You guys have been doing incredible work out on the basketball court. What have been your thoughts on this incredible season so far?
Well, it's been an incredible season, but it's been an interesting season. We started out a little slow. We as coaches put together a brutal schedule to prepare us for March. And, we at one point we were 1-4, and I think a lot of critics and a lot of spectators wrote us off. But, we're still here.
That's absolutely right. You came back stronger than ever. And you're certainly right. This was a much tougher schedule that you've experienced this year as opposed to the years past. And how do you think that has helped the team's rising stars to come into form as new stars?
It certainly has helped us in terms of playing against the best. If you look at it, we had 8 losses, and 6 of those teams were playing in regionals. And 4 of those teams are playing in the quarterfinals. So we weren't playing cupcakes. We were playing the best of the best early on when we wasn't necessarily prepared. And now we understand that we won't see anything like we saw in December and in terms of being prepared. So we're prepared for it now. Our players are grown up, and it's at the right time. We play for March at this program. We don't necessarily play for the season.
Hey, you're up against these tough teams once again. You're going to be facing these teams in the next couple weeks, and you've got something to prove. Now you're ready to take on these teams head on. And going into this season, you guys, you suffered some losses of some seniors left last season, like the Davis twins, Destiny Washington, and Kendall Hendricks. How has the program responded to the loss of these leaders in elevating this team?
Well, the biggest thing is the players that were playing with those players were like sponges. When they were here, they weren't necessarily contributing as much but they were really picking up and learning a lot of information and learning the work ethic. And I think that's what's helped them right now. And with these players, there's a lot put on them early on because everybody was saying, you guys are West Bloomfield. They're absolutely right, West Bloomfield, but, it's a process. But I will say this, people have to remember, the road to the Breslin Center starts at 4925 Orchard Lake, and I hope people don't forget that.
They certainly will not forget that. For those just joining us right now on The Splash, we have the head coach of the West Bloomfield girls basketball team, the Lakers, Darren McAllister, joining us right now to share his thoughts on the incredible season that the Lakers have been having so far. And Darren, I want to get into this game that just happened yesterday in Clarkston. Very tough opponent, very close game, almost went into overtime, but you guys ultimately prevailed. Did that familiarity with an opponent like Clarkson, help in game planning and reacting to the adjustments that the Wolves made throughout the game?
It certainly did. I mean, we knew Clarkston was a tough program, tough team, but we're a tough team as well. We split during the regular season, and for us, a little fuel to the fire was Twitter can help you or hurt you, and sometimes they can give you that bulletin board material, but from players and some coaches we're putting out there, hey, we just lost to West Bloomfield, but we're the conference champs. So we just put in our heads, okay, you're the conference champs, but we're seeking that regional championship, and that's a bigger trophy and have a bigger meaning. So we had that bulletin board material, and we did what we were supposed to do last night.
You certainly did, and now you guys are moving on to the quarterfinals, a very, very big game coming up. What are you going to be working on with the team before this upcoming quarterfinal match?
Well, the reality is we've identified our opponents, so now it's up to the coaching staff to go ahead and scout. So we're all scouting right now. We don't know a lot about Utica Ford, but the reality is we know a lot about us. So we're just going to make sure that we do what we're supposed to do when we're supposed to do it. And if we do that, I think we'll be okay.
That's all you can do, and you guys are accomplishing this job extremely well. And the playoffs so far, it's been a mixture of some very close games and some big wins, and plenty of close calls throughout, as we mentioned earlier with Clarkston. What have you been the most proud of this team as they've found a way to win throughout this month of March?
Well, I think the biggest thing to start off with is I'm most proud that they've identified who they are. The last year's team, we had some players that could really play some ball. And the reality is our goal last year was not to just win the state championship, but to dominate. We wanted to dominate every game, which we did. We wanted to dominate the championship game, which we did. This team right here is not last year's team, but they found their identity, understood their role. And a big thing for us is being resilient. This team has been resilient. This team has taken the biggest punches from everybody. But moreover, what people don't understand too, we get everybody's best game just by the fact that we're West Bloomfield. So every game for us is the other team's Super Bowl, and we have to respond, and we have. And right now, we're one of the top 8 teams in the state.
Absolutely, and that resilience is such an important part of what makes a good basketball team great. And the road to Breslin is always very difficult, especially when you expect to win titles here in West Bloomfield. How does the team keep the game of basketball fun?
Well, winning is fun. That's the biggest thing. So if you go out there, I mean, the thing about us is we understand, a lot of people say, you guys don't smile, you don't laugh, you don't do this. Well, once we hold up that trophy, that's when we're smiling, that's when we laugh. When it's over, we're smiling, we laugh. But, when we're playing, we're in business mode. We're hunting. We're out there. We're trying to get wins. So we're just going out there and winning and giving our best effort. That's the fun part. So right now we're enjoying this ride. We hope we can ride it out to hold up another trophy. But right now, we've far exceeded any and everybody's expectations except ours.
Certainly can't argue with an answer like that. Everybody loves to win. Darren, I'd love hearing your thoughts on this season. One more quick question before we let you go. What are the next steps that you guys can take to go from contenders to a title to destined to repeat as champs this year?
Well, Jake, it's just one thing. Just go out there and be who we're supposed to be. I tell our players all the time, if you do what you're supposed to do, you'll be who you're supposed to be. And for the last 3 years, it's been just that way. And I don't see it being any different this year.
I love it. That's exactly the kind of answer a coach should give. Coach, thank you so much for joining us today and for sharing your thoughts on this basketball season here on The Splash.
Thank you so much. Go Lakers.
The community will be rooting for the Lakers Tuesday tonight, 7:30 p.m. Against Utica Ford at Detroit Mercy Callahan Hall. 7:30 p.m. tip-off. We'll have our coverage on Wednesday's edition of the Splash Live. If the Lakers are to win at Callahan Hall this evening, they will then move on to the state semifinals and finals weekend. Friday and Saturday will be those games. Semifinals Friday to be determined what time that would be, and then Saturday would be the finals, also to be determined if they win on Friday. Again, if they are to pick up that W against Utica Ford in the quarterfinals and move on to the semifinals and finals weekend, it would be the fourth consecutive year that the Lakers have done that. They've won 2 championships in their last 3 appearances, with just a close game, unfortunately, going the way of Rockford a couple of years ago, being their lone loss along the way. So they're going to be doing that tonight and possibly making another trip back to East Lansing. We'll take a break on the Splash Live. Plenty more coming up on the show very soon. Beyond basketball, into Reading Month and into Women's Appreciation Month. So much going on in our community. We'll have a lot more coverage of that and more coming up live, local, social. It's the Splash Live on Civic Center TV and 89.3 Lakes FM.
We'll be right back with the Splash Live. Bringing you stories and memories from West Bloomfield. Civic Center TV, television that's close to home.
Last week, Brandon met a girl on a dating app. One day after work, he finally found the courage to ask her out. No answer. He started to panic. Was he being too pushy? Maybe it was too...
Hey, sorry I didn't respond. I was driving. I would love to go on a date. How does tonight sound?
Brandon tried to play it cool, but inside he knew. A girl so smart, so responsible. She must be a keeper.
And now, back to the Splash Live.
Live, local, social, it's the Splash Live on Civic Center TV and 89.3 Lakes FM. I'm Tyler Kieft. Thank you so much for joining us and, of course, for following along with us all throughout your day and all throughout your week on our social media. Facebook at Civic Center TV 15. You can also find us on X, on Instagram, and, of course, on YouTube at Civic Center TV. If you subscribe for free to our YouTube channel, hit that bell icon. You will be notified every time that we go live with special programming or original programming like the Splash Live, or whenever we post new videos, including our coverage of West Bloomfield Lakers girls varsity basketball playoff coverage with their game in the quarterfinals tonight, and possibly another run to the semifinals and finals on Friday and Saturday. Civic Center TV on YouTube is the place to go. And of course, you can find all those videos and those links to social media on civiccentertv.com. March is Reading Month, and one of our most beloved local TV stars from here in West Bloomfield is also a beloved children's author. He is the author of The Adventures of Seth Squatch, while he also hosts the Basquatch Hunter Fish Out of Water, a program you see very often right here on Civic Center TV and listen on 89.3 Lakes FM. I had a chance to talk recently with Mike McKinstry, the host of that show and the author of The Adventures of Seth Squatch, about making that transition from being a TV host and an adventurer out on our local waterways to writing a book aimed at getting children engaged in outdoor activity and exploring adventure themselves. Here's our conversation.
Hey, thank you for having me again. I love coming on here.
Yeah, happy to have you on to talk about this. We're in the month of March. March is Reading Month. We're hoping to get more kids to build a love of reading, something we know is really critical to them building their education and becoming well-rounded young adults later on as they go through their childhood. But from your point of view, you're a fisherman, you're a TV host and producer. You started a TV show to go through other people's professional lives and bring them into your love of fishing. But when did that transition to, I want to help the kids learn to love fishing and the outdoors, and turn that into a book?
Yeah, so and this is probably my favorite question about my career, to be honest with you. It's my favorite part of my career is working with the kids and spreading the message. And what started happening was our episodes are so unique and so different. And, we were featuring WWE wrestlers and monster truck drivers and figure skaters and some amazing just people with incredible backgrounds. And it was reaching out to a lot of families. And I started noticing through all the kids camps that I do and all the stuff through West Bloomfield kids camps and stuff, I was noticing a lot of my audience was kids. I had a lot of young kids that would be like, oh my gosh, I watch your YouTube channel. I love your show. We watch it as a family. And they started recognizing like a lot of the parts of my show. And I had this, light bulb moment where I was like, well, how can I do something that's specifically for the kids? I want them to get the messages of the show, even if they're not watching the show, or a secondary, message from the show. And that's where the book came from, is the books are all based off individual episodes of the show. So each book follows along our character, Seth Squatch, and he meets new people and tries new things. And they're all based off real characters of the real episodes of the show.
And so how do you tailor that to kids in this sense? Because you got to keep their attention, you want to build their interest, and it's a lot different to tell those stories than adults who see these things that you do on your TV show and think, this is cool because I've never explored that sort of career path. How do you tailor it to children?
So the biggest way that I adjusted for the children's books was, so the TV show is visual. You can see it. So the children's books not being visual, it's a story. I wanted to make sure I did the best I could with the illustrations. And one of my really good friends and, former resident of the area here too, he's an incredible artist, Mr. Josh Ball. And when we first started talking about the books, I told him, I was like, these illustrations are so important because even if you can't read, I want you to see the story. You know what I mean? Like, this is a visual representation of the story. So part of it was the illustrations. It's a huge part of it. So, I have our first book right here, too. So as you can see, the illustrations, let's turn to a random page here. The illustrations are incredible. Whoops. Let's get this open here. Sorry. So the illustrations are incredible, and it really brings the kids like firsthand into the experience. The other part was the storytelling. I wanted to make sure that the book is interactive. So when I'm doing these book readings in public, it's always fun for me to see where the kids interact differently to different pages. But there's always interaction. There's always energy. They're always feeding off of the story. They're getting excited. They're laughing. They're, like you hear them gasp when something big happens. And that's what the story's all about, is just getting them engaged and having fun. And, the whole story, just like our show, is based off meeting new people that are different than you, trying new things, looking for adventure, and, of course, chasing your dreams to do whatever makes you happy in life. And every book has that. One special thing, too, I will say that really brings the kids in, and the very last page of every single book we have, there is a journal entry from our character, from Seth Squatch, that tells you how he felt that day, which is right there, the Seth's journal. It tells you all about what he felt that day, but then the next page gives the kids an opportunity to fill in their own journal entry and answer some questions based on their favorite adventures and who they like to hang out with the most and, what they want to do one day. So getting the kids involved into the story and placing themselves in that position really empowers them to go out and try something different and try something new and, meet new people.
And it gets them out in the adventure, it gets them reading, it has them off of their devices and thinking about a life that with a little bit more adventure, which is something that seems to be a bit of a lost art in childhood in modern days. Mike McKinstry is with us. He's a children's book author of The Adventures of Seth Squatch series. He's also the host of the Basquatch Hunter Fish Out of Water, which you can see on the Discovery Channel, and you've even seen right here on Civic Center TV and listened on 89.3 Lakes FM. Not only, Mike, are you building a love of reading for these kids through these fun stories that take them through different walks of life and some interesting topics, but you're also inspiring with them a love of nature. Why is that important to you also, to not only bring them into the books, but bring them into the great outdoors?
It's extremely important to me. So I wouldn't be in this career if it wasn't for my parents always inspiring me to get outside. I remember when I was a kid, this is a different time. This was, early 90s. But my parents would say, do you have homework? And I'd be like, no. They're like, get out of the house, go outside. We didn't have social media or internet or, we didn't have cell phones. There wasn't a culture of electronics back then. It was adventure. It was get outside and build a fort and go ride a bike. And, and that's what got me into this career in the first place, is fishing was always my escape when I was a kid. It was something I could do by myself or with friends, and it really didn't matter. It was just always a different experience. There's a really a really cool thing I say a lot in my speeches, where you could go to the same lake 10 days in a row and have 10 different experiences. And I feel the same way about the outdoors in general. You could go on a walking path or go, on an adventure for the same place 10 days in a row and have 10 completely unique experiences. And you never know what could happen out of them. So getting kids outside is extremely important, because outside is the wondrous unknown. You never know what you're going to find or what you're going to get inspired to do. And, it gives you time to think, gives you time to, process things that you might be going through, but also gives you time to experience the beauty we have all around us. And it's so important to me. Conservation is a big part of what I do as well. And making sure our parks, live on, and making sure our waterways stay clean and live on. And if we don't teach our kids to do that from the start, then we won't have that in the future. So it's extremely important. On that note, too, I also have our new coloring book that just came out. The last page of our coloring book is actually a scavenger hunt right here. I know it's a little blurry on the camera, but it's a scavenger hunt where it gets kids to go outside and try to find items in the outdoors to check off a list. So when you're done doing the adventure coloring book, then you can get out and go find your own adventure while you're looking for stuff in the book too. So that it is a huge mission of ours to, not just entertain people with our show or inspire them to go do new things, but also get outside and make your own adventures too. And, hang out with your best friend or your family member or your dog or whatever you want and just get outdoors.
He is the host and the producer of the Basquatch Hunter Fish Out of Water on Discovery Channel and YouTube and the Pursuit Channel, as well as here on Civic Center TV and 89.3 Lakes FM. He's also the author of the series The Adventures of Seth Squatch. Mike McKinstry is with us on the Splash Live. And as you're writing this children's book, it's I'd imagine difficult as an adult to imagine your childhood, try to filter these stories into the gaze of a child to get them interested in the stories you're telling. But you have the benefit of doing a lot of work out in the community, especially over the summers with West Bloomfield Parks and other organizations where you are interfacing with hundreds of kids. So how did those experiences help you mold these stories to be even more of something that captures the attention and ultimately brings those lessons close to home to these children?
Yeah, it's actually a huge part of it. So working at the kids' camps, this is my 7th year, I believe, helping out with all the fishing camps at West Bloomfield. And, we get to work with thousands of kids and talking to them about fishing and seeing them light up with their first fish. A lot of these elements are in our stories. They're actually in the episodes too. And some of them are natural because they just happen. And some are, I collect from stories that I hear and see how kids react to stories. And, watching a kid catch their first fish and how exciting it is, we definitely, translated that into the book, where our character Seth Squatch teaches new people how to catch fish, and their excitement, the way they light up, and their reactions are very similar to a lot of the reactions of the kids that I see catch a first fish. It's also important because I read these books at those events too. So when I hear feedback and what people liked about the books, and I always do like a fun Q&A at the end and ask people what they learned and what they took away from the books. And that helps me mold the next story for the next book and, so on and so forth. So I feel like our books get better as they go because of the feedback from the kids. But the experiences with them every year always, kind of molds what we do with the show in general. But, my target audience is families in general for everything I do. The show, the books, or the products, anything we have with our brand, it's always family oriented and family based, because I don't want kids to be inspired or adults to be inspired individually. I want the collective whole to be inspired. And, I started this career in my 30s, and, I got inspired in my 30s to quit my job and just do this for a living. And I want to inspire people in their 30s, 40s, 50s, or, teenagers, or, as any age group. I want them to go out and go, you know what, I can do that too. If this fisherman can learn how to drive a monster truck and the monster truck driver can learn how to fish, I can do both of those too. And then when they read the books, if Seth Squatch learns to not be afraid of humans and meet people different than him, maybe I can do that too. And that's kind of the overall mission that we get from all the kids' camps and everything we do together.
It all goes back to one of the great elements of life, adventure. And Seth Squatch has been on so many of those adventures over the years, Mike, and now he's going on even more. What's next for Seth Squatch?
So like I said, we just released the coloring book and activity book that came out a few weeks ago. that's something I was extremely excited about because it covers all ages. It spreads through everything. The adults, I've gotten feedback from adults that color it. So that was a huge hit for us. Our next step is we have book number 4 we're working on right now, where our character Seth Squatch meets a country singer that we filmed with that was on The Voice a couple years ago. And they're all based off real characters. So every character in our book is based off a real person or a real experience. So the next book we're working on comes out sometime this year. It takes about 4 or 5 months to do these books. They're very detailed, and my artist is so incredible, and it just takes them quite a while to draw these by hand. So the next book is coming out this year, and then we have some surprises coming out later in the year as well that we're working on, and hopefully, knock on something, hopefully we can get them out by the end of the year.
Knocking on the desk. It is made of wood, so that does help in this scenario. Mike McKinstry with us, the Basquatch Hunter. You can find more information about the TV show and the adventures of Seth Squatch on BasquatchHunter.com. Mike, before we let you go, I asked you about where Seth Squatch is going next. We see the pictures on Instagram at the Basquatch Hunter of your adventures getting ready for your new season coming up. Give us a little bit of a tease. Where are some of the places you're going in this upcoming season?
Oh, wow. So this season is absolutely amazing. I can't help but smile when I bring it up even because I can't believe what we're airing this year. So starting in July of this year, and these episodes will air all the way till next July. We have 12 months of airtime now. We have adventures that take us to the Atlanta Braves Major League Baseball team. I got to be a pitcher for a day and hit some pretty amazing fastballs into the outfield. We got to work with the top NHL player in the NHL right now, do a great hockey episode with some Detroit Red Wings and some other players involved. We got to do a LPGA golfer, this legend. She's incredible. We got to do some incredible stuff this year. We have our own Oakland County executive was a guest on the show. We got to show off some great things here in Oakland County. This episode or this season is just absolutely incredible. We have farming technology. There's just such a vast array of incredible adventures this year. It's our biggest season yet, our biggest guests yet, some of our most amazing adventures, and I can't wait to see where we go from here, but you do not want to miss this season. Every episode has something incredibly unique to offer. It'll be a lot of fun. I can't wait. We'll start putting out trailers and teasers and bloopers in about a month.
We'll be looking out for those. We'll be excited for your new season coming up. The biggest season yet of the Basquatch Hunter. You can follow along on their Instagram page at the Basquatch Hunter or find them on BasquatchHunter.com. Mike, thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me.
Always appreciate having Mike McKinstry on the program. Not only the preview of a really exciting season, it sounds like, coming up of the Basquatch Hunter, some of those episodes, which you'll see right here on Civic Center TV and 89.3 Lakes FM, but also as he goes throughout the community, inspiring our young people to read and to become storytellers and lovers of storytelling themselves. Inspiring stuff from our friend Mike McKinstry. Close to home, over at West Bloomfield High School, more inspiring stuff as we tackle all the big problems of the world today that our world leaders are facing. So are our local leaders in Model UN, and they're doing so in electric fashion. They did so last weekend out at Michigan State University. Not only were our athletes from here in Greater West Bloomfield having prolific performances, so were our students in Model UN, winning big awards at the Model UN state competition at MSU last weekend, including Harshitha Sankaranarayanan from West Bloomfield High School, one of their student liaisons for the school board, who won the award for Best Delegate for her Midnight Crisis performance at Model UN. She talked a little bit about Model UN's participation at the statewide tournament at Monday's school board meeting. Here's what she had to say about the special performance.
We had a huge conference just last weekend, which I was at. That's why my voice is a little off. I was talking a lot. And we have the conference, which was at MSU. Everyone had tons of fun. There were numerous students who prepared things in General Assembly committees, specialized committees, things like MTV, where they even sang karaoke for some of their speeches, and even crisis rooms. We had students, specifically me, I participated in a midnight crisis, which went from 10 p.m. to 2 a.m. Very weird time, but I was able to win Best Delegate in that one, and also Outstanding Delegate in my other committee. So we had lots of students have a lot of fun and participate and do very well at Model UN.
Harshitha and other students, her classmates at West Bloomfield High School, tackling some really complicated issues and simulating how different leaders and different countries across the world would maybe approach those issues if they came to bat in our modern times. And so it's cool to see our students not only getting to understand these very complicated issues, but finding solutions that maybe our leaders, both locally, nationally, and around the world, can learn a little bit from as well. Congratulations to them. You can check out more highlights from that weekend, including pictures from the West Bloomfield School District on their Facebook page at West Bloomfield Schools. Stick around with us as well. You can always find us on social media for more information and special stories from across the Greater West Bloomfield community. Facebook at Civic Center TV 15. You can also find us on X, on Instagram, and on YouTube at Civic Center TV. That is our show for today's edition of the Splash Live. Big thank you to our entire crew out in the field, Jake Schaff, and at Master Control, Kevin McIntosh and Calvin Brown. For our entire team and all of us here at Civic Center TV, I'm Tyler Kieft, live, local, social. This has been the Splash Live on Civic Center TV and 89.3 Lakes FM.